Hello everybody. In this video, we will try to understand the Aries ascendant completely. Completely in the sense, we will try to focus on what are the functionally malefic planets for this particular ascendant, what are the functionally benefic planets, and also uh, which is the planet that is actually giving the profession to this particular ascendant, and the marriage giving planets for this particular ascendant, the planets that are causing the health issues or whatever, right? Everything related to health for this particular ascendant, and the favorable colors and the favorable gemstones for this particular ascendant we will try to discuss. So let's try to understand the general behavior of Aries ascendant people. So the people inherently means by very much fundamentally, you can see these people are very courageous. They're intelligent. So I'm just telling courageous because it's the general behavior of this ascendant. You may need to check the Mars position also, of course, but right, the general things I will tell you, and then we will move on the main, the core of this particular ascendant stuff. So the people are generally courageous, intelligent. They are a bit impatient, you can observe, because this Aries ascendant, the Lord is Mars, and Aries is also the Mula Trikona house of Mars, right? So you can see the Mars behavior on Mars is a kind of military general, you can understand. So such kind of behavior you can observe on this people. So they are also leaders, they are fighters, right? Mars is a planet of uh, this fighting, competitiveness, and all this stuff, because on Mars so many things happen, right? There's so much of uh, the volcano eruptions, and so many asteroids so many times hit Mars, right? But still Mars is existing after so much of struggle. You can see still Mars existing. So that's the kind of fighting spirit. Mars, the planet, by default, naturally it has that such kind of behavior. That's why our sages made it as a symbolism, as a representation of the fighting spirit, the competitiveness, right? So it's very industrious. Mars is nothing but, see, after hit by so many asteroids, after happening of so much volcano eruptions, but still the planet is very much existing. It's just imagine the energy of this particular planet, the Mars, right? That's why these people are industrious, they are enterprising in nature. So basically, you can feel they have this abundant amount of energy, right? So even after doing so much of work, they don't get tired, right? That is the fundamental behavior I'm telling you, right? If Mars is somewhere, it's afflicted or debilitated somewhere for this particular um, ascendant, then that is a different story. But we're talking about the fundamental things. So this basically whatever we talk is strength of the native here, right? The native may have more strength compared to other people. That is a general trend. And now we will try to understand the functional malefic planets of this particular ascendant. See, Rahu and Ketu are the malefic planets for any ascendant. Of course, You need to check the sign where it is, where these are placed, and also the planets that are in conjunction with Rahu and Ketu. You may need to check that to assess the functional maleficity of Rahu and Ketu. Apart from Rahu and Ketu, if you observe, the most functional malefic planet for Aries ascendant is Mercury, right? So, especially in the sub periods in the sense the antardashas of Mercury, these people may suffer a lot, the Aries ascendant people. And you can also observe, if Mercury is very much badly placed, then these Aries ascendant people may have some disturbed sleep, and also some kind of neurological problems, nerves related problems, because by default this Mercury is malefic, and if it is very much disturbed somewhere, right, then definitely this kind of traits you can observe in these people. So whenever the Mercury subperiod comes, right, based upon the placement of Mercury, right, so the significations related to the house in which Mercury is sitting, there these people would suffer in the subperiods, means the antardashas. If it is the main period, of course, it is also having the maleficity, right? Needless to say. And especially whenever Mercury Mahadasha, means the Mercury's main period is going on, and in that main period, if any enemy of Mercury is coming, if any enemy of Mercury is coming, right? If any enemy of Mercury's subperiod, let us say the Mercury Mahadasha is running and another planet is having a subperiod here, and the subperiod Lord and the main period Lord Mercury are having some enmity, then the bad results may have, the natives may have more bad results, you can say. Now let's talk about the functionally benefic planets here. Mars, Moon, Sun, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, all are functionally benefic for these guys, right? Only this particular Mercury is functionally malefic. You just need to do some propitiations for Mercury. If you want those propitiations, contact me, okay? On my mail ID, I am just giving in the description box. Now, of course, needless to say, the ascendant of this particular Aries ascendant is Mars. So the profession is the professional, the lord of this particular uh, for this ascendant, right, is Mars, and also for profession, Mars is the main significator here. Profession giving planet for these ascendants is also Mars. And what are the marriage giving planets for this ascendant? Fundamentally, it's Venus and Moon, right? So Venus and Moon. So whenever there is a Venus subperiod and then Moon subperiod, you can see these people are getting married, right? Especially the Venus is going to foster the marriage stuff, and even the Moon, both, of course, right? And better if it is not in the Mercury's main period and also not in the Mercury's sub period. Better not married in that Mercury's MD or AD. MD means Mahadasha, AD is Antardasha. Okay. Venus and Moon are very good for you. They are going to foster the marriage things. And your health is mainly decided by Mars and Mercury, right? So there is a concept called as Buddhaditya Yoga where Sun and Mercury are in conjunction. Generally, whenever you see this Sun and Mercury conjunction, astrologers say the person may have some extraordinary intelligence, all the stuff. But for these natives, for Aries ascendant people, this Buddhaditya Yoga doesn't work, right? Because why it doesn't work, the Buddhaditya Yoga? Because Mercury is the functionally malefic planet. So that Sun and Mercury conjunction would cause Sun to get afflicted. Sun is afflicted by Mercury there, right? So Sun and Mercury conjunction is not a very good thing. And if you want propitiations and also remedies, right, for this, you just contact me. Okay. So the close conjunction of Sun and Mercury gives actually health problems to these natives and also to their children. If these guys have, means if the native has the Sun and Mercury conjunction in his chart or in her chart, its children also may have some health issues. It's actually, it is seen in so many charts. That's why I'm telling it. It's purely based on the practical observation. Whatever I am talking in this video is completely based on a very practical observation. You can understand, right? So Sun and Mercury is not a good thing. The combination is not good thing for these natives. It gives health problems to the native and also to the children of this native. So Sun is very the meaning of Sun and Mercury, the combustion, right? It's actually the because of the Mercury's malefic nature, the Sun is suffering. Sun generally represents health, right? The stomach health mainly, and also Sun represents head, right? So head and stomach. So if you have Sun and Mercury conjunction, means this Aries ascendant people have a Sun and Mercury conjunction. In the Sun sub-period or in the Mercury sub-period, they may have this health issues for sure. Alright? So they have to perform propitiations whenever they have Sun and Mercury conjunction in their charts and their Sun sub-period or Mercury sub-period is coming. They have to perform propitiations. By doing propitiations, yes, very much they can observe very much relief from the health issues. I'm sure of this, right? So the main problems, what would be the health issues they may have if they have the Sun and Mercury stuff? So Sun represents the digestion system. So Sun and Mercury, the functional malefic planet, when joins with Sun, so it leads to weak digestion, right? And also Sun represents head related stuff. The Sun and Mercury conjunction for these guys make these guys very impulsive. They may not be very sharp minded, right? See, it is how it is acting completely against. Generally, Sun and Mercury combination gives extraordinary intelligence. Not all the cases, for other ascendants also. There are some specific cases where Sun and Mercury conjunction would give a lot of intelligence, and we will discuss that in a separate video. But here for this natives it's not a good thing. So they are the persons of action, right? They always want to do something, right? So for these guys, if this Sun and Mercury is conjunction is spoiling health, it's not at all a good thing, because they always want to do something, because they are action oriented people, and this Mercury is spoiling health because of this conjunction with Sun. So that may not be very comfortable for them. So apart from the Sun and Mercury, now let's come to the some more general trends of these people. They are very authoritative. They have some leadership skills also by birth, right? So if they have any kind of influence of Saturn, you just need to check the. So you may ask me. So ascendant is Aries. So Aries ascendant. If you check the Aries thing, you can find the Ashwini, Bharani, and Kritika. Kritika only the first pada in the ascendant. I am telling you, it's not about the moon's placement in Aries. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Aries ascendant. So the Ashwini 1, 2, 3, 4, Bharani 1, 2, 3, 4, and Kritika 1, right? Till this 9 padas, you can see that Aries behavior. So Ashwini's Lord is, of course, the Ketu, and Bharani, that is Venus, and then Kritika, it is Sun. So it's all related to Bharani. People are very service oriented people, and Ashwini people are the general healers, the Ashwini Kumaras, right? The god healers. So you can see a kind of the energy is mainly related to healing, serving, and also, um, you know, it's completely related to the physicians and doctors, you may say. But right, it's only the ascendant. It's going to talk about your natural behavior, right? And of course a kind of healing capacity is also present because of this Aries ascendant. But you also need to check the Saturn in your, so you may then see if every Aries ascendant person, right, every person cannot become a doctor, right? It depends on the overall horoscope, but we're trying to understand the general behavior. And now let me talk about the Saturn's influence on this particular people, right? So Saturn is actually the the 10th and the 11th lord for them. It's a very positive planet for them. Saturn is a very good planet for them. Of course, as we discussed, Mars, Moon, Sun, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, all these are all very good planets for them. But of course, what are their strengths? Where they are placed, at what degrees they are placed, and they are afflicted by Rahu and Ketu or not, and also they are afflicted by Mercury or not. Those things we need to understand, and what kind of dasha they are experiencing currently. Those things we need to understand for sure. So if the influence of Saturn is very much significant, so they may turn their attention towards engineering and entrepreneurship for sure. So engineering is something like, you know, they are going to, with this also they are going to earn a lot of wealth. This engineering and whatever entrepreneurship, right? Because they by default they are very workaholic. They put a lot of efforts, the persistent efforts they put, right? It's magnificent, you can say. Because of that they can reach uh, good heights, right? So Saturn is also going to play an important role. If Saturn is playing important role, then they may go towards engineering mainly. The entrepreneurship qualities are also present. So there is a concept called the most sensitive point of your horoscope. What is that? The ascendant degrees. So if your ascendant is at 15 degrees, let us say 1 5, so that 15 degrees of every house in your horoscope is very important. It's not only the ascendant degrees. Ascendant degrees is, of course, it is 15. And if you check your second house, third house, fourth house, so in every house, this 15 degrees is going to play a vital role. That's going to be, the most sensitive point of your horoscope, most sensitive point of each and every house in your horoscope. So you may ask, what is the most sensitive point, or how it is going to, really impact? If any other planet is also present, let us take your third house. In your third house, if some planet is present at that 15 degrees, so that planet is going to be very effective, right? Let us say your ascendant degrees is something like 10 degrees. So if any planet in any house, if it is present at 10 degrees, then that planet is going to play an important role there, right? It's going to be more effective. That planet is uh, going to be very effective. So, in which fields these people are going to excel, right? So, that is going to be decided by the planet which is actually very closest to this particular most sensitive point, right? And that planet is going to play an important role. And if that particular planet is also having an aspect on Mars, then that is also going to be very important, and that plays an important role because Mars is the ascendant lord. And if any other planet is sitting at the most sensitive point and aspecting Mars, so let me tell you with one simple example, the Aries ascendant. And Mars is sitting at, let us say, fourth house in Cancer. Of course, in Cancer it is debilitated. So let me make it Leo. It's in fifth house, Leo. Mars, the ascendant Lord, is sitting in Leo, right? And Mars is at, let us say, in Leo it is at 20 degrees, 20 degrees. Now, the ascendant degrees, let us say it is something like 12 degrees, right? The ascendant degrees is 12. So, if some planet, let us take Saturn. Saturn is sitting in Aquarius, let us say, at 12 degrees. So, Saturn is where here? Saturn is at 12 degrees, the 12 degrees in Aquarius. So, 12 degrees is basically the ascendant degrees that we discussed, that we took in our example here. So that ascendant degrees is the most sensitive degree of each and every house. So that 12 degrees is the sensitive degrees of that Aquarius also here. And Saturn is sitting there. Saturn is in its Mula Trikona house. Aquarius is the Mula Trikona house of Saturn, right? So Saturn is sitting in Aquarius at 12 degrees. So Saturn is going to play a very vital role. And as this Saturn is aspecting Leo house, and in Leo Mars is present, so definitely this guy is going to become an engineer or an entrepreneur, right? It's a very good thing. So in general people say the Saturn and Mars are aspecting each other, so it is not so, by the general trend, because Saturn is a kind of it's an inauspicious planet, and Mars is also having some inauspicious traits, and if these two are aspecting each other, it may not be very good. People say this way, means so many astrologers may say this, but it is not correct. It depends on the functional maleficity. Here both Saturn and Mars are very good planets for these guys, for Aries ascendant people. Only Mercury is not good for them. Only Mercury is functionally malefic for them, right? So Saturn and Mars aspecting here, definitely, it's going to give the energy required to become a very great engineer or a very great uh, entrepreneur for these guys, for Aries ascendant people. Just a minute. And another important thing is the transit effects for these guys. So every person has to take care of the functional malefic planets transits. For these guys, Mercury is the main functionally malefic planet, and if they try to check the current transit, and in what situation the current transit is going to trigger an event, the main thing is the ascendant degree. Let's take the ascendant degree is 10, and whenever Mercury is transiting a 10 degree of any house in the current transits, so related to that house, right? And when Mercury is transiting 10 degree of that house, related to that house, these people may experience an event to happen. But that is going to be a very minute period, because Mercury is also a fastly moving planet. So the transit effects may not much impact these guys, because other transit effects are okay. The other planets are very much comfortable for them. So Mercury transits only these people have to track, these guys, these ascendant guys, and Mercury is going to give some just a temporary problem in the transit. So for these guys, we can really understand. Instead of transit effects, better if they concentrate on their horoscopes, right? Because their functionally malefic planet is a fastly moving planet, so the transit effects may have some minor impacts on their lives, you can say. And for Aries ascendant, you can see the most benefic planet is Moon, actually, right? Moon is the lord of the fourth house, Cancer. Is a very strong and a very excellent benefic planet. So these guys have to check the position of Moon in their horoscope, in their birth chart. If Moon is very nicely placed somewhere, or if Moon and Mars are combined, let us say Moon is somewhere, the Moon and Mars are sitting in some fifth house for them, right? It's a very beautiful thing, right? Moon and Mars conjunction, I'm saying, right? In a benefic house like 1, 4, 7, 10 or 5, 9, in somewhere, of course, the fourth one is the debilitation of Mars there. So better in some other house except 4, you can take seventh, or in seventh it may have some manglic kind of stuff. So whenever Mars is present in 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 12 houses, it makes the person manglic. It may not be very auspicious for marriages, because Mars, the general traits are very short tempered, very impulsive in nature. So that kind of and also they're competitive in nature, so that kind of behavior in 1, 2, 4, 7, 8 and 12, because all these are uh, related to the marriage, right? If Mars is sitting in first house, that is going to aspect the seventh house directly, right? And second house is related to a family, in the sense when after marriage a new person comes to your house, so a new person is going to be added to your family. So a family, the second house also represents your marriage related things. And fourth house is the domestic life, means how you have what kind of relationship you have uh, with your spouse, and how you guys are feeling comfortable in the house. So there also the Mars energy is not so comfortable, it's not so good, even in the seventh house, where the seventh house itself is the house of relationships, house of a legal marriage, and eighth house is going to represent the marriage bonding, the strength of the marriage tie, right? That is the eighth house. And 12th house is the happiness that you really get from your spouse, whatever the real happiness that you get from your spouse is the 12th house. So at any place, if you find Mars, that may not be very comfortable. In other houses, if you find this Mars and Moon conjunction, that's very auspicious. Especially I am thinking in the fifth house, it's going to be very nice, right? And yeah, that's a very good thing for these guys. Moon is the very functionally benefic planet, and as a lord of the fourth house, it's going to bring them a lot of the fourth house. You can just understand is the representation of property, vehicles. It's moon. The moon is actually the mother by default, right? So it's also the education up to your plus 2, right? Plus 2 till your plus 2, mainly the plus 2, plus 1 and plus 2 education is that fourth house. The property and vehicles is also fourth house. Your fourth house is actually the sukhasthana, the happiness, the emotional happiness you may have in your life is the fourth house. If your fourth house is very much nicely present, then you may have some kind of happiness in your life, the emotional happiness. Otherwise, if your fourth house is very much afflicted, very much disturbed, you may have that such kind of emotional unhappiness. Even though you may have a lot of things in your life, lot of abundance in your life, but still you may have some kind of stressful things you may have. So fourth house is really important, and also it is going to uh, play a vital role in spirituality, because fourth house is a seed of spirituality. The 4, 8, 12 houses, these three houses are called as the moksha trikona houses. Fourth house is the seed, and eighth house is the it's a kind of flower, and 12th house is the fruit of this particular moksha, the spirituality. So spirituality can be of two types. One is the spirituality coming because of pains and hardships that you have in your life, and another kind of spirituality is out of happiness, means you achieved everything and nothing to achieve and you're completely satisfied. Now you want to know what else is present other than this materialistic world, right? Because in materialistic world you are completely successful, you enjoyed everything, you have a beautiful wife, you have beautiful house, all the vehicles and everything, you have completely enjoyed everything in your life. Now then you are turning your attention to spirituality. That is a very positive way of turning to spirituality, right? So that is one thing. Another one is out of pain and hardships. That is another thing. So the fourth house really shows you this, the seed. What is the seed of your spirituality? Is out of pain you're going to spirituality, or out of you enjoyed everything and you just want to know something more other than what you experienced so far, because of that happiness you're going? That kind of seed you can really see from the fourth house. So if for this particular guys, if moon is very nicely placed, I am telling, they are going to achieve a very very great things in their lives. Moon is going to bless them with a very great status, especially in the government. They may have a very good position if their moon is very much comfortably placed. And if you observe, the fifth house is Leo for these guys. Leo is the Mula Trikona house of Sun, the duty performing house of Sun. So if Sun is very nicely placed in a birth chart of this particular natives, and if Sun and Mars have uh, some kind of connection, then they may have very high intelligence, and that is going to really help these guys to achieve their goals, because almost everything is a benefic planet except Mercury, and of course based on Rahu and Ketu's position you can say Rahu and Ketu may be malefic, right? Based on their position you can say, but of course fundamentally Rahu and Ketu are malefic, right? They are actually the head, serpent head, and one is a serpent's head, and another one is a serpent's tail. Of course Rahu is the head, where you can see a lot of poisonous stuff, and their malefic impact may get reduced based on a very nice position you can say, right? And Venus is going to play a very vital role for these guys, because Venus is the lord of the seventh house. Seventh house is the Libra, that is the Mula Trikona house of Venus, the duty performing house. Means Venus, wherever it's present, it will try to give the significations of that particular the seventh house. So if Venus is very nicely placed, these guys may get very beautiful wife, right? And it also gives a very good pleasure for them, interest in music, all the stuff, right? That makes the native to love adventure also, because the Venus is comfortable and they are basically the Martian people, and just understand it's going to be a very nice combination. It's a very good thing for them, right? And let's see the Jupiter. Jupiter is going to play another important role for these guys, because there's a lot of the ninth house mainly. Of course, it's a lot of the 12th house also, but ninth house is the Mula Trikona house of Jupiter for them, because Sagittarius is the Mula Trikona house here. So that's going to play a very vital role. If this particular Jupiter is nicely placed, they are going to be very religious, they are inclined to spirituality. So if Jupiter is very nicely placed, they may have the kindness, the generosity, the honesty, all the beautiful things. They may get married very nicely, and they may have very good children, they may have very good growth. But if Jupiter is not comfortably placed, then it is going to delay everything, delaying the marriage, or delaying the success in the career. So such kind of things they may experience. So, right, Jupiter's role is very important for these guys to achieve the success very quickly, right? And finally, the Saturn we discussed so far. Saturn is very much important because it's the 11th house lord. It's basically 11th house is, it is the main cause of fulfillment of desires, right? It's very much important. 11th house is always important because it is going to fulfill your desires. You may have a lot of the things, but finally they are going to be fulfilled or not. The desires are going to be fulfilled or not. It is going to be decided by the 11th house. The fulfillment of desires. Of course, it represents friends and elder brothers, the gains, the profit. You have all the stuff in for every house. This 11th house is very much related. It is the see. There are four things in astrology: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These four things are very much important. Dharma houses are 159, and the Ardha houses are 2, 6, 10, right? You can clearly see 2 is the income and 6 is the service or the first job, and the 10th house is your profession. So 2, 6, 10, the Ardha related houses. And the Kama related houses here are the 3, 7, and 11, right? So third house is how much efforts you're going to put. It third house really represents your efforts, your intelligence, your the initiative capacity, and the kind of initiative you take, and the kind of efforts you're going to put, the self efforts, the self growth, right? So the communication, the third house is very much important. How much efforts you're going to put is going to be very important in order for your fulfillment of desires. So third house is the desires seed, you can say, right? How much efforts you put. And then the seventh house is it's another it's a flowering of your desires, and 11th house is the fruits of your desires. So 11th house is very much important as a whole in any chart. And Saturn is ruling it. Saturn's Mula Trikona house is Aquarius, that is the 11th one, right? The fulfillment of desires. So if Saturn is very nicely and comfortably placed, and that is going to have a lot of positive influence on your birth horoscope, right? So just imagine if Jupiter and Saturn are very nicely placed for these guys. There are so many yogas for these guys, except that Sun and Mercury. The Buddhaditya yoga is completely out of the out of this thing for these guys. Other than that, if Jupiter is nicely placed, that's it, they're going to gain a lot. If Saturn is very nicely placed, yes, that is also, that's going to give them a lot of things. If Moon is nicely placed, yes, right. And Leo, the sun is, if sun is nicely placed, that is also very good. If Venus is, so every planet, for these guys, every planet is ready to give something, provided if they are placed very nicely. At least one is good enough, and if that sub period is coming, that's going to give them some success in life, right. It's a very nice thing, it's a positive thing for these guys to earn more, or to have a beautiful wife, or to become an entrepreneur. If one is very nicely, at least one planet is very nicely placed, that's it, these guys are going to be in a next level. So that is the best thing, right, for these guys. So now I will explain you one important thing that I observed in so many horoscopes. That is the role of sun for these guys. So if sun is present in Virgo, that is the 6th house, Scorpio, and that is the 8th house, and Pisces, that is the 12th house, so sun automatically becomes weaker. So whenever a planet is placed in 6th, 8th, or 12th, these three are called as dusthanas, the bad houses. So when sun is present there, it's actually going to be weaker. So when sun is weaker, obviously these guys may face stomach related disorders. Also, as sun is the lord of the fifth house represents children, the progeny. So they may have some problems, some unhappiness from their children if sun is placed in 6 or 8 or 12. So that is very much important. And this kind of behavior means if sun is not well placed and they are going to experience some problems, this kind of behavior is going to be much more prominent if Jupiter is also not fine. If Jupiter is also not very fine, then they may have some problems, because Jupiter represents the progeny also, right. So Jupiter is not well placed and sun is also not well placed, then progeny related issues they are going to face, right. So they have to perform some propitiations for sure. And if Rahu and Ketu are also coming into the picture somewhere, in the Rahu Ketu axis, the sun and Jupiter are somewhere afflicted, and also the sun is placed in 6 or 8 or 12, and again this particular Jupiter is not nicely placed. So then some health issues and progeny related issues as we discussed, right. Now let me explain you about the favorable colors for these guys. As we know, Jupiter is the ninth lord, right? So Jupiter represents yellow color. So yellow is very good for them. Black is good. All shades of blue is very good. Red, pink, orange, a golden color is good. White is good. Silver is good, right? So these are all very good colors, right, except green, because Mercury represents that green color. So green is very bad for these guys. Green is very bad. Steel gray is bad. Smoky gray is bad. And also some dull blackish, dull blue, or any kind of dull colors are not so good for these guys. And the favorable stones, the gemstones. So Venus represents the 7th lord, so it's very good, and diamond is very good for them, right. And red coral for Mars, because they are the Mars the ascendant lord is Mars, and Pearl is good because that's the fourth lord. It's the most benefic thing. The Pearl is very benefic thing. Yellow sapphire, of course, the ninth lord is Jupiter. Yellow sapphire is very good, and Pearl is good because the fourth lord is Moon is related to Pearl. All these are benefic planets for them, right? So if any of the benefic planets are not uh, good, then they have to, take care of, they have to wear these gemstones. And for better, which gemstone they have to wear for that kind of queries, you can always contact me on my email ID. Blue sapphire is also very good because it's the 11th lord Saturn, and ruby is also good, it's the fifth lord Sun, right? Except emerald, the green emerald. Never, these guys should never wear emerald, whatever may be the horoscope. They should not wear green emerald. So the statement here is Aries ascendant people should never wear emerald, the green emerald, that is for Mercury. Any kind of emerald they should avoid. And you can say this cat's eye and Hasonite is the Rahu related. It's also called as Gomed, right? The Rahu related gemstone. So for that, they have to really, they should not wear it if Rahu is not nicely placed. Only in exceptional situations they can wear this Hasonite, that is Gomed, if based on the Rahu stuff, right? Rahu is very nicely placed but it does not have enough strength, then they may try to, but except that it's very dangerous for them to wear Gomed or Hasonite. Even the cat's eye, the Ketu related one, it's also called as Lasonia, and better they avoid this Lasonia and the stuff, right? But in exceptional cases, right, they can. But green emerald is always, they have to avoid it. And better they avoid the Gomed, that is the Hasonite, and also the cat's eye, that is Lasonia, also they can avoid, right? Because they have ample of other favorable stones like diamond, red coral, pearl, yellow sapphire, blue sapphire, ruby. All these things are very favorable for them, so they can get their things done with these favorable stones, right? So this is about their placement, right? This is about this particular ascendant. And so many other things you can discuss, what each and every planet can give them. If you take sun is going to rule the father, right? So it gives good, if it is nicely placed, then it is going to give good results related to father, professional success, because sun is the significator of your profession. Also means it's not only yours, for you, it's for everybody. The natural signification I am talking for, as Aries ascendant people, of course sun is the significator of that fifth house, the progeny, children, the romance, the also the undergraduate education. For that kind of stuff, sun is important for Aries ascendant. If you observe the natural behavior of the planets, right, natural behavior is shown for any horoscope, for any ascendant. If you take sun is father in astrology, sun is profession, sun is leadership, vitality, intellect, social status, happiness, right, from the health that you have, right? Sun also represents the happiness from your children that you may get. So this is the natural behavior. So if sun is good, then you may get all these things. If you take moon, what is the moon's natural behavior? Moon represents mother. It's great mental peace. If your moon is very good, then you have mental peace. And the patience, the financial position, happiness through your assets. So if moon is good, then happiness from your assets would be good. If moon is bad, happiness from your assets may not. If you may have assets, but if your moon is not good, you may not have much happiness from your assets. And of course, moon is also the significator of some health, you can say. These are all the natural significations I am talking about. The specific significations related to Aries ascendant we already talked, right? And if you take Mars, Mars represents the courage, energy, the agility, the building capacity, whatever, the initiative capacity, a happiness that you may have from your brothers, younger brothers, whatever, right? The gains and the properties, because Mars is a real estate planet, so it's related to the real estate properties, and of course a bit the professional success also seen by Mars, right? The natural behavior. Mars is nicely placed, you can get all these things very nicely. And Mercury, of course, your Mercury is not so good, but even though your Mercury is bad, even though your Mercury is functionally malefic, but if this functionally malefic Mercury is occupying Virgo sign, the Mula Trikona house of Mercury, then it is not going to be much harmful for you, because there is a fundamental principle in Vedic astrology, that is, whenever a functionally malefic planet occupies its Mula Trikona house, it may become less harmful, right? This is a fundamental principle. So your Mercury is functional malefic for you, and the Aries ascendant guys I'm talking about, right? So this Mercury is functionally malefic, and if this Mercury is placed in the Mula Trikona house, that is Virgo, Virgo is the Mula Trikona house of Mercury, so that Mercury is going to be less malefic. Sometimes you can say it is not at all malefic if it is praised in its Mula Trikona house. Okay, so in that case, what happens? It is going to bless you with more analytical capacity, the good health, the good financial capability, the your power to defend, because you have more intellectual capacity now. You can defend when someone is someone is talking against to you, then you can also very much you know talk, you can also defend, right? So Jupiter, if Jupiter is good, of course Jupiter is expansion, Jupiter is knowledge, it's the happiness, it's the growth, it's the happiness, it's your children, good health to your children, good status, right? Everything, family happiness, knowledge happiness, growth and expansion. If Jupiter is good, all these things, a very beautiful family, beautiful children, healthy children, expansion, growth, status, everything. Venus, if Venus is good, of course you're going to give you good taste, good happiness in marriage, and you may visit some foreign lands, right? Visiting foreign lands, Venus is going to give that beautiful energy, right? If Venus is very nicely placed. And what about Saturn for you guys? Not only for you guys, Saturn is generally uh, it's the successful struggle, you can say in one sentence, right? The good professional competence. It makes you work, and finally it will give you results. So if Saturn is very much nicely placed, it's going to fulfill all your desires without any exception, right? It gives you a lot of gains, lot of profits, lot of social circle. Very excellent thing. That is the greatness of Aries ascendant, guys. If one planet is very good, then that's it. They have some success in their lives. And if you may ask, what if the planets are weakly placed? Something like if Mars is weakly placed, then you may have weak health, because Mars is your ascendant lord. So you may have Mars is not nicely placed, then it may give you some weak health. So you may be vulnerable to infections, you may have a lot of anger, you may have some professional problems, delay in getting some gains through property, because Mars represents property also by default. And if moon is not good in your horoscope, then you may have some kind of gaps in your education. uh, you may have loss of some mental peace, some trouble to your mother. You may have weak immunity, you're very sensitive, too much sensitive. If your moon is weak, you're too much sensitive. And if your sun is weak, you have weak digestion. You may have problems like anemia, You may have problems related to the male progeny. You may have some health issues, any kind of coronary diseases, weak eyesight. Sun represents eyesight also. If sun is weak, then you may have problems in job, because sun is a significator of job, sun is a significator of profession by nature, and sun is ruling your fifth house here. So you may have problems with your children also. Sun is represents, by default it represents status. So if sun is not good, then you may have this lack of recognition problem, right? So such kind of behavior you may observe if your sun is weak. And if Mercury is weak, now obviously Mercury is functionally malefic for you, and it is going to, it's mainly related to your health. So you may have weak health, weak immune systems, immune system, and this Mercury is actually ruling your sixth house. So that's the Mula Trikona house also. So that also represents the debts and diseases, and so such kind of enemies. You may have a lot of enemies if your Mercury is even more weakly placed somewhere. Venus, if Venus is not very nicely placed, then you may have some problems related to some kind of some gynecology related, means uh, especially for females, it may have some problems related to the gain problems, you say the renal malfunctioning, or that kind of, right, you can understand. So delay in marriage also experienced, because for especially for males, Venus is a significator of marriage, right? And even for females also, for Aries ascendant, for males or females, uh, if Venus is the significator of seventh house of the Libra is the Mula Trikona house also. So obviously they may experience some delay in marriage if Venus is not comfortably placed. Lack of marital happiness, lack of luxuries, lack of nice food. There's such kind of, because Venus is the representation of all these things, right? If Jupiter is not good, then you may experience some delay in your growth, delay in professional success, delay in marriage, delay in having children, everything delayed. Saturn is not good, then fulfillment of desires may not happen. You may have everything, but at a particular point of time, they may get stopped. So it's a very important thing. So if your Mars is very good, then definitely you need to try in sports. You may become civil engineer, sports. It's very, because you have a lot of strength. So better try in sports. You may become a very good surgeon, because Mars represents the sharp objects. And Mars, of course, is the police and military stuff, the advocates, all the stuff, right? You can involve all these things. Civil engineers also, because the construction related. Mars by default is real estate. So civil engineering is also good for them. They can become some authoritative and administrative people, because Mars by default is the authority. It is very adventurous things. Also, it represents. So, if your Mars is good, you're going to have this kind of adventurous and enterprising pursuits. You can have. So, right. So, these are all the very good things for Aries ascendant. So, except that, if you have any doubts, you just mail me. Thanks for watching my video.